Oftentimes, we think of ghosts as malevolent spirits that want to do us harm. Spirits that haven't been able to move on because they have a score to settle. But that isn't always the case. As it turns out, there have been several documented instances of people having encounters with ghosts that actually saved lives. Here are 10 mysterious cases of ghosts who saved lives. Number 10 is Grandma the Angel. In early 2010, a woman identified only as Lissa was speeding down a road on her way to a date when she suddenly lost control of her car while taking a sharp turn. Crashing over the guardrail, her car rolled down an embankment and came to a stop out of view of the street. Exactly 1 year before that horrible night, Lissa's grandmother left this world due to illness, leaving her grandmother her gold necklace, which Lissa wore at all times. After the car flipped end over end, she unknowingly squeezed the charm and somehow her grandmother came to her aid. When the car did stop, every window was broken, the doors completely smashed in, and the interior torn to shreds, except where Lissa sat. Miraculously, she walked away with only a sore shoulder. Her mere survival absolutely baffled doctors, and her explanation was that of a paranormal one, that her grandmother saved her life. Number 9 is Durands Wife. Many years ago, a Chicago farmer named Charles Henry Durand was riding home late at night when his horse suddenly stopped right in the middle of the road and began to tremble in fear. Before he could get the animal calmed down or moving again, Durand felt a presence and turned to see a woman's image take shape inside of a faint light beside the wagon. He recognized the spirit's voice as his own wife, who had died sometime earlier. She warned him not to go home and then suddenly disappeared. Shrugging the eerie event off, he went home anyway, but approached cautiously. If he hadn't encountered the ghost of his wife, he wouldn't have noticed the trap that was set for him. A window had been broken open and a gun had been set up with a tripwire. Somebody wanted him dead, and if he simply had entered, he would have been killed. But miraculously, he lived, thanks to his dead wife's message. Number 8 is Sonias Husband. In January of 2016, 50-year-old Sonia Burton was at work at Gala Bingo Hall in Ashington, Northumberland, England, when tragedy struck her. She suddenly collapsed, having suffered a severe heart attack. Her manager, Karen Arkle, performed CPR until paramedics arrived, taking over and transferring Sonia to the hospital. Nobody seemed to give up, even though Sonia was technically dead for 56 minutes. While doctors struggled to bring her back, Sonia was visited by her husband, John, who had died in 2004. John's ghost encouraged her to get back to her children, claiming that it was not her time. Most medical experts would have given up after several minutes, let alone an hour, but they didn't, and Sonia woke up and made a full recovery. To this day, she insists that the reason that the doctors did not stop, even after all of that time, was because of John. Number 7 is Dale Earnhardt. On July 18, 2004, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was involved in a terrifying accident. The NASCAR driver was practicing on a track at Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma County, California, when he lost control and struck the wall. Seconds after his Chevrolet Corvette C5R finally came to a stop, it suddenly burst into flames thanks to a damaged fuel filler neck. Earnhardt Jr. suffered second-degree burns to his thighs and chin, but somehow got out of the vehicle, seemingly by his own power. It wasn't until several days later, when the 29-year-old had shaken off the crash, that it came to light that he felt his father help him from the car. He still doesn't remember the moments being unbuckled from his seatbelt and laying down on a stretcher, only that his father's spirit forced him out of the flames. Number 6 is Avery of the Pink Palace. In the case of one particular ghost in Louisville, Kentucky, anyone who enters his domain is more so protected than tormented. Initially a gentleman's club and casino, the Pink Palace was transformed into apartments in the 1970s, which is when its mysterious ghost, a southern gentleman named Avery, began appearing to living residents. Described as a well-groomed older man in fancy clothes, Avery has saved more than one life within the Pink Palace's walls. He appeared before one woman, scaring her into fleeing her bathroom, just as a cement block came through the window and crashed into the very place that her head was moments earlier. He's also warned people of fires before they broke out and stopped accidents. He may be a terrifying presence, but his heart is in the right place. Number 5 is the Naked Woman. On the night of June 10th, 1994, Deborah Hoyt awoke at a relative's house in Sacramento, California, with an overwhelming urge to leave. Waking her husband, the pair sped off, only to come upon a naked woman laying at the side of the road. They notified police, who found no trace of anyone at the location that they specified. However, days later, Deputy Rich Strasser, who couldn't shake Hoyt's story, went back to the roadside and searched the woods. At the bottom of a steep ravine, he found a car belonging to 24-year-old Christine Skubish. Inside, he discovered 3-year-old Nick Skubish, Christine's son. He was barely alive after 5 days of no food or water, but incredibly survived. Christine had died shortly after the impact, but it's her ghost that Hoyt believes summoned her and thus saved the young boy's life. Number 4 is the Blue Lady. Since 1927, the Moss Beach Distillery has been a popular restaurant in Northern California. Situated on the cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean, it has awesome views, but equally awesome dangers. One false step and the horizon is the last beautiful thing you'll ever see. But lucky for the clumsy and unlucky, there's a Blue Lady, the spirit of a beautiful young woman in a blue dress who lost her life because of those cliffs. While some stories claim it was an accident, others say that she took her own life. Either way, she now protects people from falling, especially young children who see an opportunity to play in the precarious conditions. The Blue Lady is a beloved ghost, and the restaurant's own website promotes the fact that she's been seen many times on the premises, challenging people to look for her when they visit. Number 3 is the Old Nurse. Nurses have a tough gig, dealing with the weight of multiple lives in their hands at the same time. That can certainly take a huge toll, especially if they're new on the job. Well, luckily for any new nurses, at one particular but unidentified hospital in the United States, there's a veteran nurse around to help them out. Mind you, she hasn't been on the payroll since she died many years ago. When a recently graduated nurse named Ruby began at the hospital in question, she quickly found herself in over her head, with 8 sick patients and only 1 assistant to have her back. But late into her shift, an older nurse in a very old uniform began informing her of patients in distress. Many of them were saved that night by the old nurse, who, Ruby, was later told wasn't a living person, but the ghost of a previous head nurse. Number 2 is the Mother in the Car. On March 8, 2015, emergency responders in Spanish Fork, Utah, arrived at a heart-stopping scene in which a young woman, 25-year-old Jennifer Grosbeck, had collided with a cement barrier on a bridge, lost control of her vehicle, and ended up in a lake. It was nearly 14 hours before emergency workers reached her red Dodge sedan, aided by the cries of the woman for help, desperate to save her 3-year-old daughter Lily, who was strapped in the back seat, her head inches from the freezing water. They managed to pull Lily from the wreck, but to everyone's alarm, Jennifer had died shortly after impact, meaning the voice couldn't have been hers. The police and firefighters at the scene all heard the voice, and paramedics couldn't explain how Lily survived for 14 hours in those conditions. And number 1 is the Gray Man. Though his name sounds like the title of a horror movie, the Gray Man appears to be more interested in saving people than scaring them. In fact, if you asked around about this South Carolina ghost, you'll find people seem to be happy that he's haunting the region. A number of stories have been told of people encountering the ghost, who most often appears as an unidentified grayish young man before a major storm. He's been known to warn local residents that they need to leave the area or find shelter before winds and rain take them away, and in a number of stories, he's given people just enough time to escape the storm with their lives. There are even tales of him appearing in people's homes, only to have those particular buildings virtually untouched after a hurricane passes. Some people call him a ghost and other a guardian angel. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it in the future, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications for my new uploads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.